So, picture this. The Galactic Council's been screaming for help for 3 whole weeks, and nobody's answering. The Vorth are out there consuming planets like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet, and every major alien power is basically saying, not our problem. These bug-like creatures have been tearing through star systems faster than wildfire, and the biggest military forces in the galaxy are suddenly finding excuses to be somewhere else. The emergency broadcasts are going out every few hours. Desperate voices speaking dozens of alien languages, all saying the same thing. We need help. We're dying. Please send ships. But when you look at the response board, it's nothing but red lights and declined requests. The Zentorian Empire? Too busy with internal politics. The Crystalline Collective? Suddenly very interested in peaceful meditation. Even the war-loving Kravosh have decided this particular fight isn't worth their time. Then boom, this beat-up human ship called the Relentless drops out of hyperspace, looking like it's held together with duct tape and pure stubbornness. The hull's got scorch marks that tell stories of a dozen different battles, mismatched armor plating where they made field repairs, and weapon systems that look like they were cobbled together in someone's garage. But here's the thing about human engineering. If it looks stupid and it works, it's not stupid. Ambassador HFY is standing there on his fancy space station, watching this primitive Earth vessel through bulletproof glass. His 4 eyes are probably getting wider by the second as he processes what he's seeing. This isn't some sleek alien warship with technology that bends the laws of physics. This is basically a flying tool shed with rockets strapped to it, and somehow the humans think this rust bucket is going to make a difference against an enemy that's been steamrolling advanced civilizations. You gotta understand the context here. Humanity's only been in the Galactic Club for like 2 years. 2 years. Most alien species take decades just to figure out how to properly shake hands at diplomatic meetings. Earth got its first faster-than-light drive by basically reverse engineering crashed alien tech, and they've been playing catch-up ever since. They're the new kids on the block with hand-me-down technology, trying to sit at the grown-ups' table. The other species look at humans like that weird cousin who shows up to family dinner wearing mismatched clothes, but somehow always has the best stories. Earth's representatives at the council meetings are constantly having to prove they belong there, dealing with condescending attitudes from civilizations that have been spacefaring since before humans discovered fire. Captain Jake Morrison gets on the radio, and his voice has that casual confidence that only comes from someone who's seen some serious action. There's something in the way he speaks that cuts through all the panic and diplomatic double talk. No fancy titles, no formal protocols, just straight talk from someone who's clearly been in the thick of it before. Hey there, Ambassador. Got your distress call about these Vorth guys. Washington sent me to lend a hand. Simple as that. Like he's offering to help move furniture, instead of taking on an alien invasion force that's got the entire galaxy running scared. There's no fear in his voice, no hesitation. Just a human being saying he's here to help because someone asked for it. And you can practically hear HFY's 4 arms shaking as he tries to explain that millions of alien death machines are heading their way. The ambassador's probably running through diplomatic protocols in his head, trying to figure out how to politely tell these humans that they're about to get themselves killed. His species has seen what the Vorth do to planets. They strip mine worlds down to the core, leaving nothing but empty husks floating in space. The Vorth don't negotiate, don't take prisoners, don't show mercy. They're like a force of nature. You don't fight a hurricane, you just try to survive it. Every military strategist in the galaxy has run the numbers, and the math is simple. The Vorth have too many ships, too much firepower, and they don't care about losses. Fighting them isn't warfare. It's just a slower way to commit suicide. But here's this human captain, acting like he just got invited to a friendly competition instead of a massacre. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. Here's where it gets interesting. Jake just laughs, and it's not a nervous laugh. It's the kind of laugh that says, "Hold my beer and watch this." You know that sound? It's the same laugh your buddy makes right before he does something that's either going to be legendary or land him in the hospital. There's zero fear in it, just pure human confidence mixed with what psychologists probably call adaptive insanity. The aliens try to explain how hopeless everything is, going into detail about Vorth battle tactics and their overwhelming numbers. He's pulling up holographic displays, showing fleet compositions and invasion patterns, basically painting a picture that screams, run away as fast as possible. But Morrison cuts him off mid-sentence with, "Brother, where I come from, we don't back down from a fight." And that right there is the difference between humans and pretty much every other species in the galaxy. When most civilizations see impossible odds, they calculate survival probabilities and make rational decisions. When humans see impossible odds, they crack their knuckles and ask if anyone's got a bigger challenge. It's like we're wired backwards compared to everyone else. Next thing you know, human dropships are raining down on Kepler. 442 be like it's D-Day in space. The transport vessels are coming in hot, engines screaming, landing with impacts that shake the ground for miles around. Each ship disgorges dozens of soldiers who hit the dirt running, already scanning for threats before the dust settles. But here's the kicker. These aren't the soft diplomatic types the aliens met at peace conferences. You know those humans the galactic community is used to seeing? The ones in clean uniforms who speak in measured tones about trade agreements and cultural exchange? Yeah, those guys stayed home. What's coming off these dropships is something entirely different. These are Marines, Rangers, Special Forces, Paratroopers, basically every variety of human that Earth uses when something absolutely, positively needs to be handled overnight. These are the people who volunteer to jump out of perfectly good aircraft, who think dangerous assignment means Tuesday, and who consider overwhelming odds to be a personal challenge. The difference is immediately obvious. Where the diplomatic corps moves with careful precision, these soldiers move like predators. Their gear isn't polished and ceremonial. It's functional, battle-tested, and designed for one purpose. Every piece of equipment has been used in combat before, and you can tell just by looking at the wear patterns and field modifications. Lieutenant Tom Hayes is the first one Ambassador HFY meets face-to-face, and it's like watching a house cat meet a tiger. The size difference alone is shocking. Hayes stands 2 meters tall, built like someone who spent years carrying heavy equipment across hostile terrain. His uniform can't hide the fact that this guy is basically a walking weapon system. But it's not just a physical presence that's intimidating. There are scars crisscrossing his hands and forearms, the kind you get from handling dangerous equipment under combat conditions. His eyes constantly scan the environment, cataloging threats and escape routes with the automatic efficiency of someone who survived more firefights than most people have had hot dinners. When Hayes smiles, it's not the polite diplomatic expression HFY is used to. It's the kind of smile that makes prey animals run for cover, friendly enough on the surface, but with an edge that suggests terrible competence and violence. It's the smile of someone who genuinely enjoys his job, and his job happens to involve solving problems through the strategic application of high explosives. When he radios back to his ship, Hayes is already sizing up the enemy with the casual expertise of a professional. "Captain, these Vor things are just oversized bugs with fancy toys. Nothing we haven't handled before." There's no bravado in his voice, no false confidence. It's just a professional assessment delivered by someone who's made a career out of studying how to break things. The casual way he dismisses an enemy that has the entire galaxy terrified is both reassuring and deeply unsettling. This isn't ignorance or blind courage. It's the calm confidence of someone who's seen enough combat to know that every enemy, no matter how scary they look, has weaknesses that can be exploited. And that's when Ambassador HFY realizes that maybe, just maybe, the humans aren't as unprepared for this fight as everyone thought. When the Vorth fleet shows up, they do their usual thing, psychological warfare through overwhelming numbers. Picture a living wall of alien ships that literally blocks out the sun, designed to make defenders with themselves and surrender before the real fighting starts. It's worked on thousands of worlds across the galaxy, and there's a reason for that. The Vorth fleet deployment is basically terror made manifest. Imagine looking up at the sky and seeing nothing but enemy ships stretching from horizon to horizon. These aren't just warships. They're massive biomechanical constructs that pulse with organic light, making sounds that register on frequencies most species associate with death and decay. The psychological impact is calculated and devastating. Most civilizations take one look at this approaching nightmare and immediately start broadcasting surrender terms. It's not cowardice. It's basic survival instinct. When faced with something that clearly outmatches you by several orders of magnitude, the rational response is to negotiate, retreat, or find somewhere to hide until the storm passes. The Vorth have refined this strategy over millennia. They've studied the fear responses of hundreds of different species, cataloged what makes each civilization's collective needs knock together. Their ships emit specific sound frequencies that trigger panic responses in most galactic races. The visual display alone is designed to overwhelm rational thought and trigger immediate submission. But humans? Humans see that wall of death approaching, and their first instinct is to fix bayonets and charge. There's something fundamentally different about how human brains process overwhelming threats. Where other species see impossible odds and calculate survival chances, humans see impossible odds and start getting creative about evening them out. This reaction completely breaks the Vorth playbook. They've never encountered a species that responds to terror tactics by getting angry instead of scared. It's like they've been using the same magic trick for thousands of years, and suddenly someone in the audience is pointing out how the rabbit got in the hat. The Vorth commanders are probably looking at their sensor readings and wondering if their equipment is malfunctioning. The human biosigns aren't showing the expected fear patterns. Instead of elevated stress hormones and panic responses, they're reading something that looks more like excitement. The human heart rates are increasing, but in a way that suggests they're getting pumped up for a fight, not terrified of dying. Suddenly, their tried-and-true intimidation strategy is about as effective as bringing a knife to a gunfight. The psychological warfare that's been their primary weapon for centuries just bounces right off these strange primates from Earth. It's like trying to scare a honey badger by showing it a bigger honey badger. Marine Sergeant Bill Cooper is down on the surface, watching alien warriors the size of trucks coming at his position. These Vorth ground troops are designed to be nightmare fuel. Chitinous armor, multiple limbs ending in razor-sharp claws, mandibles that can crush steel. They move with predatory grace and emit sounds that would make most species collapse in terror. But Cooper's only concern is whether his ammunition's gonna last. He's doing mental calculations about rate of fire versus target density, checking his gear with the casual efficiency of someone who's done this dance before. There's no fear in his movements, just professional focus on the tactical problem in front of him. These boys ain't so tough, he radios to his squad, and you can actually hear him grinning through the comm system. Just bigger targets. The way he says it, you'd think he was commenting on the weather instead of staring down creatures that have terrorized half the galaxy. And that right there sums up the human approach to warfare. If it bleeds, you can kill it, and if it's bigger, it just bleeds more. Where other species see size as intimidation, humans see it as a bigger bullseye. Where aliens see claws and fangs as weapons of terror, humans see them as design flaws that make the enemy less maneuverable. The human soldiers are already adapting their tactics in real time, sharing information about weak points and vulnerabilities they're discovering. What should have been a rout is turning into something the Vorth have never experienced before, actual resistance from prey that refuses to act like prey. The really scary part isn't that humans aren't afraid. It's that they're genuinely enjoying themselves. The Vorth Hive Coordinator, let's call him Bob because alien names are hard, is watching his battle reports with what passes for confusion among space bugs. His compound eyes are processing data streams from thousands of individual warriors, and nothing is making sense. The numbers should be simple math. Overwhelming force meets inferior resistance. Resistance crumbles. Planet gets harvested. That's how it's worked for the last 3,000 years. These humans fight like they're already dead. He's thinking through whatever passes for thoughts in his hive mind consciousness. No self-preservation, no rational fear. They're not natural. And honestly, Bob's got a point. Most species have built-in survival mechanisms that kick in when facing impossible odds. Fight or flight responses, strategic retreats, negotiation instincts, something that keeps them alive long enough to pass on their genes. But humans seem to have skipped that particular evolutionary lesson. When faced with certain death, they double down and start looking for creative ways to take their enemies with them. It's like they've collectively decided that if they're going down, they're going to make it memorable. The battle reports flooding into Bob's consciousness are reading like science fiction. Human squads are holding positions that should have been overrun hours ago. Individual soldiers are taking on warrior forms 3 times their size and somehow winning. Most disturbing of all, the humans seem to be enjoying themselves. Their combat chatter is full of jokes, friendly competition, and what can only be described as professional enthusiasm. And he's not wrong about the not natural part. While his forces are getting carved up by humans using weapons that barely qualify as advanced, something impossible is happening in the space battle above. Captain Morrison's up in orbit playing chicken with cruisers 10 times his size, and he's winning. The Relentless shouldn't even be able to scratch the paint on a Vorth heavy cruiser, let alone outmaneuver one. Human technology is generations behind Vorth bioengineering. Their weapons are crude projectile systems compared to the elegant plasma arrays of the fleet. Their armor is basic metal plating against adaptive organic hulls that can self-repair in real time. But Morrison's dancing his ship through enemy formations like he's showing off at an air show, except every wrong move means instant vaporization. He's using the Relentless small size and maneuverability to stay in the blind spots of larger ships, firing his primitive weapons at critical junction points, and somehow finding ways to make them count. The man's pulling maneuvers that should be impossible with human technology. He's using gravitational slingshots around the planet to build up momentum, then cutting engines and going ballistic to avoid targeting systems. When Vor's ships try to bracket him with crossfire, he's diving through their formations and using their own ships as cover. It's not just skill piloting. It's a kind of tactical insanity that only works if you're genuinely not afraid of dying. Morrison's making split-second decisions that require absolute confidence in his ship, his crew, and his own abilities. One miscalculation, and the Relentless becomes a very brief firework display. That's when the humans pull out what they call Protocol 7, which sounds all official and military until you realize it's basically, let's blow up the planet's geology and use it as a weapon. The name makes it sound like some sophisticated tactical doctrine, complete with official paperwork and strategic planning committees. But the reality is much more terrifyingly simple. The humans have identified the largest Vorth ship, a mile-wide bio-dreadnought that serves as a mobile hive and processing center, and they've decided to kill it using the planet itself. It's the kind of plan that only makes sense if you're either a genius or completely insane, and with humans, it's often hard to tell the difference. They lure the massive ship into position over a geological fault line, using false retreat patterns and stage equipment failures to make it look like they're abandoning a critical defensive position. The Vorth dreadnought moves in to secure the area, positioning itself exactly where the humans want it. Then they detonate carefully placed nuclear charges along the fault line, triggering a seismic event that drops several million tons of planetary crust directly onto the alien ship. In the span of about 30 seconds, they turn a mile-wide alien dreadnought into the galaxy's most expensive landslide victim. The sheer audacity of using geological warfare leaves the Vorth command structure speechless. Who thinks of weaponizing continental drift? The remaining Vorth take one look at what just happened and decide discretion is the better part of not being turned into space debris. You can almost hear the collective nope echoing through their hive mind network as they process the fact that these primitive humans just weaponized the planet's geology against them. The retreat order goes out faster than light-speed communications, and suddenly the unstoppable Vorth war machine is doing something it's never done before, running away. They're not just retreating strategically or regrouping for another assault. They're running so fast they're leaving their wounded behind, something that's literally never happened in their species' history. The Vorth have always operated as a collective, never abandoning their own, always recovering their fallen. It's been a core part of their identity for thousands of years. But right now, individual Vorth ships are breaking formation and jumping to hyperspace without waiting for orders. Some are abandoning ground troops that are still engaged with human forces. Others are leaving behind damaged vessels that could be repaired and salvaged. The panic is so complete that their legendary hive mind coordination is falling apart in real time. The speed of their retreat is actually breaking Vorth tactical doctrine. Their ships are jumping to hyperspace from dangerous positions, risking navigation errors and mechanical failures, rather than staying in this system 1 second longer than necessary. Some of the smaller vessels are literally burning out their engines trying to get away faster. Ambassador Ketvier is standing in the smoking ruins of what used to be a Vorth forward operating base, trying to process what he just witnessed. The ground around him is littered with abandoned alien equipment and the smoldering remains of biomechanical constructs. The air still smells like ozone and that weird metallic scent that follows major explosions. His forearms are trembling, not from fear, but from the adrenaline rush of surviving something that should have been impossible. Every calculation, every strategic projection, every piece of military wisdom his species had accumulated over centuries of warfare said this battle was unwinnable. The numbers didn't lie. The Vorth had overwhelming advantages in technology, numbers, and experience. But somehow, these crazy humans with their primitive weapons and backwards tactics had not only won, but made it look almost easy. They'd turned what should have been a massacre into a rout, using methods that defied every known principle of galactic warfare. These humans didn't just win an impossible battle. They made it look routine. Like this was just another Tuesday for them. Another problem to solve with typically human solutions involving excessive firepower and creative destruction. The casual way they dismantled a force that terrorized half the galaxy was somehow more intimidating than the Vorth had ever been. Captain Morrison walks up, and he's a sight to behold. His uniform is torn and stained, covered in alien blood and battle damage that tells the story of close-quarters fighting. There are scorch marks on his armor from energy weapons, and his helmet has a crack running down one side. But he's grinning like someone who just finished an enjoyable workout. He extends his hand in that universal human gesture of friendship, like they just finished a friendly tennis match instead of a desperate battle for survival. There's no arrogance in his manner, no boasting about the victory, just the casual competence of someone who's done a job and done it well. Ambassador, Morrison says, and his voice carries that same easy confidence it had when he first answered their distress call. Those Vorth won't be back. They just learned what every bully in Earth's history learned eventually. There's always somebody tougher. The way he says it, you'd think he was discussing weather patterns instead of cosmic warfare. As the human fleet prepares to leave, their ships looking no worse for where, despite the brutal combat they've just survived, Ketvier realizes he needs to warn the galaxy about what he's just witnessed. This isn't just a military victory. It's a fundamental shift in the balance of power. He sends a priority message to the Galactic Council, and his words carry the weight of someone who's seen the future. Policy change required immediately. Humans aren't just from a dangerous world. They are the danger. When they offer help, what they're really offering is the promise that their enemies will die instead of you. The galaxy just met its new apex predator, and it's wearing a friendly smile.